Hey, lemon biters and letter writers, new book, new book, new book, new book, new book. Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. This is the beginning of a journey, the beginning of an era, the golden era. Today we begin our study of the book of Romans. And you know what they say, when in Romans, do as the theologians do. Honestly, this has been one of the most highly requested books since I started this show almost 2 years ago, and so I'm really excited to dive into it over the next couple months. But before we get into the reading, though, it's important that we get some context or basic background information on this very famous book. Romans was written by the Apostle Paul, the man who wrote the majority of the New Testament. However, Romans is considered by many to be his masterpiece, his Sistine Chapel, his Romeo and Juliet, his Lemonade.
It's such a shame!
It's widely accepted that Paul wrote this letter to the Romans anywhere between 55 and 58 AD, as he is about to travel to Rome on his way to Spain. And so Paul's reason for writing this letter is twofold. First, to give the Romans news that he is coming, and second, to make a clear case for salvation offered through the gospel of Jesus Christ. Pretty basic stuff, right? Hey boo, two things. I'm coming over, and Jesus was a substitutionary atonement for your sins. See you in a sec. And even though we are going to be going through this book chapter by chapter, it's important to remember that this letter was originally one text, one document. And so Paul here is building a case through this entire book. And so in each chapter, there will be very important connections and through lines that we will have to learn to recognize in order to understand the book as a whole. But that's why you're watching this show, isn't it? I am here to be your guide. I'll try. So let's dive into our first reading. Oh, I missed this. Please read for me Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 25. So Paul begins this letter in a bit of a dark place by painting a picture of God's anger. And bear down, cause he gonna be doing this for the next couple chapters. Here specifically, Paul is saying that God has made himself plainly known all throughout history, not only through his wrath, but also through his divine nature and power by which he created the entire world. And he's saying that since God has made his realness and supremacy known, mostly to the Jews, but also to all people, we really have no excuse when we practice unrighteousness. We know who God is, and because of his law, we know what he requires, and yet we continually practice what is contrary to what God desires. And then in verse 22, Paul uses this very clever and very haunting image of an exchange. He says, claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man. Essentially, these people have exchanged the truth of God for a lie. And later on, in verse 29, we see a long list of things that they traded the truth of God for. Every time we choose what is contrary to God in our lives, we are making a trade. When we choose the way of sin, we are choosing to trade life for death, joy for pain, fellowship for isolation. Righteousness and unrighteousness cannot coexist. There will always be a trade. You cannot have both. Jesus himself said a man cannot serve two masters. And Paul here is not so much talking about one specific group of people as much as he's talking about all of humanity. All the humanity! John, it's the humanity. Throughout the entire scriptural narrative, we see the people of God making this very trade that Paul is talking about. And to this day, when we, the children of God, his heirs, choose the way of sin, we are making that same exchange. You see, humanity was trapped in this cycle of trading our crown for a cage. And what Jesus did was he came down and he traded his crown for a cross, which turned out to be the key to unlock that cage. And don't worry, even though things look really dark now in this book, Paul's gonna get there. Spoiler alert! But today, I wanna encourage you to take some time and to ask yourself, what trade am I making? In what areas of your life are you choosing the cage of sin over the crown that God has for you? When I was in 3rd grade, I used to make a lot of trades at lunchtime. And I remember after the first few weeks of the year, I refused to make any more trades with Ben Hastings. It's not that Ben wasn't a nice guy. It's not that he wasn't my friend, but he would always do something that was so annoying. He would always ask for a take back. Maybe you have been trading the things of God for the things of this world. And perhaps today you need to pull the same move that Ben used to play on me at the lunch table. Maybe it's time for a take back. Hey friends, thank you for watching this episode of ADITW. It is good to be in a new book, isn't it? Before I go, I wanted to encourage you all to go and watch my brand new spoken word entitled The Flood. If you haven't seen it yet, last week I traveled down to Houston to film this new piece in the hopes of raising awareness for the need for long-term relief given to those who have been affected by these tropical storms. But that trip and that video and all of my spoken word videos were made possible by the generosity of those of you who support me via Patreon. Patreon is a platform that allows you, the audience, to support me, the creator, in creating the work that I do that I hope blesses you so much. You can give as little as $1 a month, and it helps me create more and better videos for you. And it also helps me be able to take crazy trips in the middle of the week to do work that I really believe is important. Also, by signing up as a patron, you get access to some amazing rewards, including exclusive content, live streams, and even a written out devotional version of A Day in the Word. Patreon plays a huge role in keeping this channel alive and encouraging people. And so if you're interested, please visit the link in the description and sign up today. It would mean so much to me. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, subscribe to the channel, and tune in next week. I love you all. Keep being awesome.